大家好，欢迎来到本周访特报，我是各位的中国人实习生导师波特王。提醒您正在收看的是号称中国版的 Discovery， 带您一起探索最真实的中国。平常在家有些人放松的方式会看电视，但你有想过电视同时也在看你吗？如果你家里有中国品牌的海信电视或是 TCL 电视，现在请立刻去拔掉它的插头，然后可以考虑换一台新的了。因为根据网络安全公司 Bitdefender 指出，这些中国品牌的电视会在用户不知情的情况下，每隔10分钟就扫描一次你家所有的网络连线设备，包括手机、电脑，并将这些连线数据，包括 MAC 位置、IP 地址等，全部上传到一个叫做勾证数据的网域。而这个勾证数据是一间位于北京的科技公司，也就是说，你的网络数据，这些包含你的个人隐私、你的喜好、政治倾向等等，都会被它回传到中共国并分类，变相监控着你。你在家看电视笑出来的时候习总可能也跟着笑了。今天影片继续进行之前，要先感谢 Surfshark VPN 赞助本集影片。应该有不少人有以下类似经验，像是你才跟朋友聊到想吃火锅，结果过没多久，你的网络社群广告就全是火锅推荐。这不是心电感应，这是你的数位足迹在裸奔。或许有些人可能会想说，推播我想要的东西，这不是很方便吗？但这种便利背后是有隐藏代价的。首先，广告商收集你的资讯，绝对不是为了爱，是为了钱因此，你的个资有可能会被转手卖给第三方。而万一那间公司的资料库哪天被骇客入侵了，届时你的数位足迹，包括你的账密、信用卡号，甚至生活作息，就会变成诈骗集团的囊中物。这才是最现实的威胁，所以别再让你的个资在网络上随便给人吃到饱了。推荐各位上网时记得使用 Surfshark VPN。Surfshark 采用军规级加密技术，增强资安防护，防止第三方监控，阻挡恶意软体，让你上网更安心。使用 VPN 保护自身的同时，其实也是拿回主导权，让你在想吃火锅的时候才让系统知道，而不必担心自己的资讯会被有心人士利用。此外 ，Surfshark 还有强大的附加功能，像是 Antivirus 防毒软体，能够自动防护扫除，排除有害文件，让你远离钓鱼网站的威胁。立刻点选影片相关链接 surfshark.com/porterking 或用优惠码 porterking 可获得额外4个月 Surfshark 服务哦。那我们继续进行刚刚的话题。我查了一下海信跟 TCL 的电视，他们的销售通路不止在中国贩售，国外也有卖，重点是台湾也买得到，好事多有贩售，其他各大网拍平台也都找得到。因此我觉得这个资讯蛮重要的，提醒大家务必留意一下这类中国品牌的3C 商品。你说如果是不能联网的东西，可能风险还稍微低一点，但那种可以联网的，建议不要使用比较好。因为中共政府推动的雪亮工程，就是在做这种会利用数据来监控人民的事情，包括利用监视器、网络数据、上网时间等等，整合各种数据后，能够精准地掌握出目标的生活习惯以及目标位置，以此掌控你的行踪。顺带提，中共监控程度做到这样，墙内还有失踪人口，完全就不合理。在墙内的人，中共只有不想找，没有找不到这种事。而根据报道指出，与勾证数据相关的智慧电视超过1亿台，这数量非常惊人，等于有这么多人都会在不知情的情况下，以为只是在家看电视，殊不知正被共党监控着。中共现在不只是利用数据监控中国人了，连外国人也想要监控。而被发现做出这样的事情，本月中国海信集团在美分公司已经在加州遭到集体控告，海信被控诉侵害隐私，涉嫌利用电视对数以百万计的美国人监控。诉状指出，海信智慧型电视的 ACR 技术每 0.5秒就会自动捕捉用户的萤幕画面和声音，而这些装置会将相关资料分送给海信的中国母公司及相关企业。依照中国法律只要中共开口要这些资料，这些中国公司都必须提供。虽然中国品牌的3C 商品是很便宜，但这背后的代价可能比你想的还要昂贵。各位别以为个资不重要，你的政治立场、兴趣、生活习惯都可能成为被操控以及利用的数据。现在网络诈骗泛滥，还有一堆假账号网军带风向，这些攻击都是建立在数据上，所以平时就要多留意，避免个资外泄。家中有长辈的更要帮忙他们注意一下。当然也不是要说所有中国制的商品都不好，但就是会有些中国品牌恶心人，卖个电视也要搞小动作，奇怪嘛。那不知道大家对于这支线有看法，欢迎影片下方留言分享。今天影片后半段带各位来看几则送头留言。你不断章取义把原视频放了一遍，川普不还是不支持独立吗？且不会派兵帮台湾打仗吗？笑死！不知道你澄清了什么 ？SB 青鸟侧翼。这个留言是我在讨论川习会影片下方看到的，只能说这位小孔如果不是文盲，就是小时候脑子被门夹过。可能啊，我那支影片的说明那么清楚了，原片段也放给你看你还看不懂的话，重播一次嘛。美国政府对台政策多年来就是这样，人家不会公开说支持统一或台独，因为美国觉得这是台湾人的事情，人家不介入决定。同时，美国也不允许任何一方用武力改变台海现状。那虽然美国不会公开喊支持，但实际上美国在做的事情是不是在帮助台湾？就是在支持台湾啊！不然美国为什么要军售武器给台湾？不想管的话，抽离印太就好了啊！不然 然你家中共为什么还要看美国脸色？美国不在乎，早就攻台了，不是吗？武统都喊70几年了，从中国经济成长喊到中国经济衰退，还在喊。美国就是评估过台湾利益跟美国有关，才会嘴上说是那样说，实际上做是另外一套嘛。这国际外交上很常见啊。小凤，你们家中共外交不也常常这样子，骗洪都拉斯跟台湾断交，说会买他们白虾，结果断交之后，中国采购承诺跳票，洪都拉斯后悔莫及。所以台湾如果不想被中共侵略，要做的就是把自己的利益跟美国的利益绑在一起，最安全。如果你觉得我这样讲不对，那你要提出你的主张来反驳嘛，这样才能讨论嘛。不是你不认可又讲不出来，就说人家乱讲好吗？我说这些你不信，不然看看这周美国智库的主席 Peter Martis 有访台，记者采访时就问他说，川普说不想看到独立，问他看法是什么？美国国安智库主席也是说美国对台政策没改变，甚至说不能只听川普说的，因为他讲话比较夸张嘛。来，各位看一下人家怎么说的。
I'm Sunny, working for First Taiwan, Taiwan's Central News Agency. So my question would be I would like to know, Peter's, your understanding of President Trump's remarks about Taiwan. So he mentioned that he doesn't want anybody to go independent, right, in his remarks. And now you are now sitting among DPP lawmakers. The party is more like an independent-leaning party. So what do you think of Trump's? How do you understand what he meant by that remark? And also so you have been in the state, so you're working for Jamestown Foundation. So what do the people in the U.S. think of his remark about Taiwan? So can you tell us about it? Thank you.
So, first, let's be clear. Jamestown, if you look at our publications, you're not going to find a lot of policy recommendations because what we're trying to do is understand our adversaries in their own words and in their own terms. And sometimes that means helping Americans understand their allies in their own words and in their own terms. And, that means that, yes, I have friends across the political spectrum in Taiwan, blue, white, green, whatever those may be, because at the end of the day, I can't read the Liberty Times if I want to understand the Kuomintang. I can't read UDN to understand the DPP. And therefore, you have to be willing to talk to everyone. So please don't read anything into I'm sitting with, but we've known each other for many years, have had lots of conversations. I think Puma and I met 7-8 years ago. And so to say that. The second thing with respect to what Trump has said, the most important thing that you can read out of Trump's remarks, right? Because we can't look at him and see a traditional official whose words have a very specific meaning that are carefully chosen for their impact and their effect, right? He has continuously said, and even in the Fox News interview, he said, I think 3 times a version of U.S. policy has not changed. When he was asked about the conversation with Xi Jinping, she said Xi Jinping went on a long speech about how important Taiwan was and how everything was, and he said, I listened, I heard him, right? He didn't sit here and say, oh, Taiwan is a bargaining chip. He didn't say, he said, essentially our policy is our policy, it's not changed. He was asked how Taiwanese should feel about it, they should feel neutral because nothing's changed, right? And that, I think, is something that he has said clearly in consistency, because there is no deal that can be made over Taiwan that doesn't make the U.S. look weak, that doesn't make Trump look like he is presiding over a declining U.S., which is something that he promised to do in his first term, that he wouldn't do in his first term, and he wouldn't do in his second term, right? This is an important point. There is no deal over Taiwan involving the U.S. that does anything other than make the United States look weak, and that's something that Trump is incredibly sensitive to, right? The second thing that I think is important about his remarks, right? He said, he didn't really change anything that the U.S. has said about independence, about how Taiwan chooses its future, right? The U.S. policy has been consistent for a very long time that the people on both sides of the strait have a role in choosing that future, and that future should be peaceful and it should be free of coercion, right? Trump hasn't changed that. He hasn't done this, and many of the fundamentals are simply not sort of up for negotiation. Now, you can sit here and look at the arms sales, and it's probably not a good idea to say something to China that they consider to be non-negotiable, to say that you're willing to negotiate or that you think it's a point of leverage, because you're going to find out very quickly that it isn't leverage and that they will simply keep playing as they have done so many times, right? You can see them right now doing what they've done in the past, what they did to the last administration, what they've done to the Obama administration, the Bush administration, others before, which is to create a kind of tyranny of the schedule so that there's never a good time to take a competitive action, that there's never a good time to move forward with an arms sale to Taiwan, that there's never a good time to have serious defense talks with Japan about what can and should be done, right? And this is where many people have fallen victim to the trap that you can have an agreement with the PRC or with the CCP itself and have something that is meaningful when they consider their interests to be on the line. So it's important to remember that did the CCP change its objectives? Has it changed its willingness or its stance on democracy? Has it changed its values? No, none of those things have changed. And therefore, this is the consistent situation.
看完是不是像我上周说的那样？不是我厉害，是因为美国对台政策常年就是这样运作的。美国历届政府不主动说要支持台湾独立，美国如果出来喊这个，本来压制好好的都没事，喊了反而害台海发生战争怎么办？川普就说不要战争了嘛。而虽然嘴上不说，但实际在做的不都是帮助台湾，让台湾人有可以选择的机会，有能力保护自己，增加中共侵台成本。只要让中国觉得今天不适合发动侵略，那台湾就又多安全一天。中共是坏不是笨啊，中共自己也会评估，用骗的 好过用打的，所以才会花钱渗透你台湾。那这部分认知战就需要各位台湾人一起防御，不要被骗了。所以我说不要看美国怎么说，要看实际上怎么做的，就是这样。顺便补充一下 Peter Martis 的背景，他曾担任过 CIA 的情报分析师，长期研究中共统战、情报渗透与认知作战，然后现在是美国重要国安智库主席。那听完他说的内容，加上先前卢比奥讲的，以及美国政府实际在做的，看完这一切就知道为什么中共会这么积极散播以美论了，就知道为何这些粉红会配合洗地带风向了。因为目的就是要拐骗你台湾人，散播绥靖投降主义，让台湾人以为自己没有选择，千万别上当啊！我是青鸟，我是白痴，卖 gay 啊！青鸟才不会这样一直自称。但你说你是白痴啊，我是相信的，而且我都说几次了，大罢免大失败之后，没有青鸟了啦，都变中间选民了，顶多是金鸟。我现在也是顺应主流民意啊，带各位实习当中国人呢。说别人断章取义，你自己断章取义还少吗？我哪里断章取义？你指出来嘛？我影片谈的内容都会附上资料来源截图，有影片也会放影片原片段给你看，让你可以去核实啊，这样叫断章取义哦。我看断的是你的脑回路吧。留给你们的好日子不多了，就得舍吧。这样的言论啊，我从我做这节目第1年就看过了，看到现在都8年了吧。但小冯，你说这句话已经辱华了，代表你心里知道台湾跟中国是不同的国家，所以你才会说出留给你们的好日子不多了这种话。如果你真的认为台湾是中国的，那你应该要说留给我们的好日子不多了。注意到了吗？你把你们跟我们切开了，大胆居然敢说出这种分裂祖国的言论，抓到辱华了。其他小粉红啊，举报这位小粉红。说从股市来看啊，中国股市跟台湾股市也是2个世界。中国经济越来越差 ，A 股沦为屠宰场。反观台股大盘创新高，基本面也有支撑 ，AI 产业链持续成长。这还是蓝白有在国会扯后腿的情况下哦，都能这么强。台湾刚好吃到这波 AI 红利，形势大好。虽然有蓝白卵小美中不足，但确实台湾算是好日子。相比之下，小粉红们，我替你抱不平啊！习总在那边倒车，中国经济那么差，股市表现都不能向台湾看齐了，还想统一啊？然后现在墙内买美股的管道啊，也被中共紧缩管制。中国证监这周出手啊，点名处罚老虎、富途、长桥等公司啊，说他们非法跨境展业，破坏市场秩序，把墙内购买美股的传统网际网络券商管道彻底封锁。虽然中共说法很像是为了民众好，什么整治这些非法产业，但真的有在投资美股都知道，这3间公司有多久了。富途、扭牛很有名嘛，过去在墙内也都没问题，结果现在中共政府缺钱了，就开始想办法刁难。现在中共这招啊，可以说是名正言顺的奉旨割韭菜，断了人民配置海外资产的生路，强迫资金回去当 A 股的燃料。A 股谁买谁韭菜，这也不是秘密了，根本韭菜超级市场，可怜呐，连美股都不给墙内人随意投资了，想要翻身的希望都斩断。而本来有开户投资的墙内散户，也被中共规定未来2年内出清。我想那些中国散户的钱啊，到时候汇回去墙内，没意外又会被找名目收割一波，给你共同富裕。还有投资美股的台湾观众朋友，看了应该要多想一下，未来万一当中国人就不能随意买美股了。那今天的中国人实习就先到这边，那今天影片就先聊到这边。再次感谢 Surfshark 对这个单元的支持。提醒各位，在留言区的部分，我会放优惠链接 surfshark.com/porterking 以及优惠码 porterking 给大家使用。有需要的朋友记得点选连结。我是波特王，喜欢我的影片，请帮我按赞加订阅。那我们下次影片见，拜拜。